Good evening, everybody. Welcome to South Coast Marketing Group's virtual Q&A session. We've got an interesting and great show lined up for tonight. We are going to be live with Bob Luz, the president of the Mass Restaurant Association. We're going to talk about a bunch of different things happening in the restaurant world. We encourage you to please send in your questions, your comments, anything you want. Please post it in the comment section on whatever platform you're watching. We will reach out to you and try to get to all the questions tonight that we can. We know it's been a long year. People are ready to get back out. They want to get back outside. They want to go out dining to bars and restaurants. They're looking forward to this. And trust me, the restaurants are looking for it too. So we really need to get together. We know staffing has been an issue right across the board for a lot of restaurants. We need everyone to be patient, understanding, and also supportive at the same time. Support takeout, support your local restaurants. Do everything you can to help them. They've struggled along just like everyone else has here. So without further ado, I'd love to bring in Bob and give him a big welcome tonight. Hey, Bob, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Todd. And by the way, you did a great job in the Portuguese pronunciation of my last name, Luz. But in America, we Americanized it here, so we pronounce it Luz. So,
okay.
But thank you for nailing the Portuguese pronunciation. Appreciate it.
It's the New Bedford area. What can we do? Hey.
There we go.
Yep. So we want to talk about, obviously, the restaurant industry itself has taken a major hit this past year, more so than probably most industries could have foreseen. What's your take on what happened, how it happened, and what restaurants have done to survive and still be here, the ones that have survived? I know we've seen a lot of hits that really hurt desperately in the industry. We saw some big names that ended up closing doors and never came back. But the guys that are still there, the little guys, surprisingly, have been able to make it through.
Yeah, so that's a 2-hour question right there, but I won't give a 2-hour answer. Look, what happened is pretty simple. Sadly, the entire industry was shut down. And remember, the original request, we were the first the first industry to get shut down a week before anybody else. It was going to be for 3 weeks. And clearly I knew at that point it wasn't going to be 3 weeks. And we tried to, really get our membership and get the restaurant community ready for the fact that it wasn't. It ended up being over 3 months. And when we finally opened, we found out with 2 days notice that we would only be able to open for outdoor dining. And that was a challenge in and of itself because, the good news is we were able to get restaurants deemed essential initially. So, we were open for takeout and delivery, but in the full service restaurant arena, most restaurants weren't operating in that space. And so initially a lot of them didn't adapt. And then we found out that was, it was going to be a lot longer. Folks started to adapt. And then again, we found out with a couple days notice that it was going to only be outdoor. It necessitated us going back and working with the governor again. And literally, we got an executive order that allowed a 10 to 12 week permitting process that started between the neighborhood, city, to the state, back to the city, to get squashed down into literally a 2 or 3 day process. And so that was good, and we were able to get opened up outside, and then we opened up 3 weeks later inside. Summer and fall, the probably the only blessing, and you hate to say that a drought is a blessing. The only blessing was that we had a drought during a time when, most people didn't want to eat indoors and they wanted to be outdoors. And, some of them wanted to be outdoors because they were afraid to come indoors. Most of them wanted to be outdoors because it was kind of cool. Right. 80% of the restaurants in Massachusetts didn't have outdoor dining before this. So if you're going to look at the silver lining, that's it. And then we struggled into the early vestiges of winter and had another shutdown along the way, essentially a rollback, and really got very restrained over the winter and saw a lot of places hibernate. And, we always said that the end of April was going to sort of be the reaching of the other side, if you would. And so, we think we're approached that and we're starting to get feedback on firm ground. So that's a quick answer to a really complicated question.
The light is reachable at this point now,
yeah,
which is a good thing. You said silver lining. I mean, unfortunately, you don't want to say COVID timing wise was a silver lining at all, but coming in the spring and late spring definitely did help a little bit being able to do outdoor dining. Wasn't in November of 19 that it happened, and then you go into the winter months, and what do you do? So the outdoor dining aspect is great. And the one thing I can say is that it opened up another possibility for restaurants going forward if they're able to continue to do that. Do you see that as a positive for them, being able to have tented areas that they never did before, or maybe patios that they created that they didn't have?
Yeah.
And now it becomes a positive for them to add more seating.
Yeah, what's undeniable is that across the Commonwealth, cities and towns embraced outdoor dining. They loved the feel that it brought to their community. They loved what it did to the surrounding streets and sidewalks and adjoining spaces. The governor and his team advocated and got large sums of money out for investments in downtowns to sort of bring this to life. And so everybody was excited to have it back as we came into the spring here. I think that there's a strong feel that people want to make that more permanent, and it's quite honestly, it's worked for everybody. It's worked for the community. The guest loves it. The restaurants certainly enjoy it. And there's challenges that come with outdoor dining, but again, we're going to execute a heck of a lot better than we did last year, and so we think it's going to be here to stay. And again, there's going to be bills filed to extend this permanently and make it part of the feel of the dining scene and the community scene across Massachusetts.
Nice. Yeah, it's very interesting. All of a sudden you go to Hanover Street in the North End and you see tables outside and the barriers and everything, but it's a great feel. I mean, it's nice. And the North End is definitely a vibrant community to have something like that and be able to adopt that as well as they did to handle the delivery options and everything else and traffic flow that they had to. I mean, that's a big challenge in and of itself.
Yeah, no. And Mayor Walsh, now Secretary of the Labor, he was a big fan of this and worked hard to get those up and out. But it wasn't just downtown Boston. I mean, it was Moody Street in Waltham. It was, Situate and, Plymouth. And I mean, you just saw it all across from Provincetown to Newburyport, Boston, and Pittsfield, and everywhere in between. It was widely embraced.
Yeah, which is great. And you still see it today. I mean, you see the tents that have gone back up now again. Mm-hmm. I know some of the communities are down here on the South Coast. They had to wait until end of April to get things going, and now you're seeing them pop up again. It's fantastic to see it. Like you said, everybody loves the outdoor dining experience that necessarily wasn't there at some of these restaurants, and now it's become the norm. So
yeah,
Todd,
the fact is, 81% of the restaurants in Massachusetts had no outdoor seating. The 19% that did were very limited, and what we saw was a pretty aggressive approach to say we're going to get, and it was all driven by a parochial sort of approach to liquor, to adult beverage management, quite honestly, and the feeling that we had to keep it within the four walls. And what we found was, and the ABCC has been a strong partner and advocate for this, that we can responsibly do this and act like adults and treat it as a privilege and make it work for everybody. And that's, I think it's a great feel for the general public as well as the operators.
Yeah, no, which is great. It's fantastic. So with that, with everything going to outdoor dining, obviously a lot of restaurants having to adopt to takeout when everything first happened. What kind of role did the MRA have in that? Did you get a lot of field of phone calls for that? People asking advice, where to get supplies, how to do this? How do you repackage your takeout restaurant? I mean, you get a high-end steakhouse that's never done takeout before to this level, and now suddenly that's the only way they can survive.
Yeah, so our role really has been to advocate and to sort of provide information and assistance to the entire restaurant community, and that's an important distinction, Todd. Right away, we took down the walls and said we're not going to be here to serve just the members of our association. We're here to serve all restaurants, including those that can't afford to be a member and that needed the help the most, and that continues till today. And so we've been communicating with them directly ever since then. And initially our push was to try and convince people, hey, we know you don't operate in this this arena, takeout and delivery, but you need to adapt. And this is going to dramatically change the business model for the foreseeable future, and more likely, and we do believe it's here to stay for years, permanently. I mean, takeout and delivery was a fast-growing segment, but it was a very small percentage of sales. And really, in the full-service arena, delivery wasn't a big deal. It wasn't. There was very few, other than downtown, maybe Boston Market. Very few restaurants that really did that, and it has exploded. I mean, the average restaurant probably did about full-service restaurant probably did about 8 to maybe 10% of his or her sales were takeout, and again, not delivery, before the pandemic at best. Through the summer and into the fall, it ran probably 25% takeout and delivery. It was probably about 40 to 45% outdoor, and about 30 to 35% indoor. Over the winter, and again, this coincided with the second surge and with really strong restrictions, we saw sales, weekly sales for restaurants jump to 40% takeout and delivery. We had some full service restaurants, 60% of their sales weekly were takeout and delivery. Yeah. Right now, we're back down around 25%. We really think that's probably the number to go forward with. But it dramatically changes the business plan for a restaurant, because you don't have any add-on sales. You don't have that great appetizer that just went by that you weren't thinking about that now you order. Second, having a drink, most people are going to buy that beverage at their package store. And so it's really making us think differently and, think outside the box, and, use our takeout option for beer, wine, and spirits to go. And we've got our mixologist coming up with some really cool recipes to make that experience and enhance moving the dining experience from our dining room to your dining room.
And then when ABC stepped up and allowed that you could go in and get a margarita to go, get your bottle of wine, a glass of wine, whatever, when you were ordering a takeout, that was a big change. And to see that from ABC to step forward and do that was a huge boost for restaurants initially. No question.
Yeah, and again, just to be clear, that wasn't the ABCC that allowed it. They're just the enforcers. That was the legislature and the governor, quite honestly, that paved the way to make that happen. And the ABCC enforces those laws that they've been asked to enforce. So, but they've been a tremendous partner in this, and have really tried to make sure that restaurants work, stay within the lines and work to get through all of this. And they really embodied that, that whole premise of together we win. And,
which is great.
I can't say enough good things about them.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I know a lot of the restaurant clients we have, they stepped up to the plate with this takeout ordering and said, we don't know what to do with this other than a regular menu. Let's create some family meals together. Let's put it all together. Yeah. Let's create some take home and finish cooking it yourself at home kind of thing. Because we knew people were doing things they wanted to buy it. They were going out one day or twice a week, and that was it. So they really got creative with it, which was great. And it's good to see restaurants actually do that and kind of burst their comfort bubble to really do something that they were unfamiliar with, but really learn and adapt quick enough. And that was really interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, you've seen a whole lot of innovation in this last year, and restaurateurs have always been, I think, the most resilient, most innovative thinkers out there. It's what makes our industry great. But to your point, subscription dining, family meals, these were terms that didn't exist in the full service restaurant industry pre-pandemic that now are commonplace and will stay. And those are services that restaurants offer and that guests are excited about. And again, it's changing the business model for a full service restaurant. No doubt about it.
Yeah, no, it's good to push a little change on people. It's good. It's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. No, it's going to help everybody in the long run. So, all right, moving on. Let's talk about some of the big things in the elephant in the room, PPP and revitalization funds. I know right now everyone's got a big push to get Congress to increase the revitalization funds, throw a little bit more money into that. What's your feeling on this and how it can help?
So, first of all, we fought aggressively along with our partners at the National Restaurant Association, along with, other restaurant groups that have popped up over the last year, like Mass Restaurants United, which is a group of independent restaurants. Most of them are members, and the Independent Restaurant Council. But this has been a long fight that the National Restaurant Association and the 50 state restaurant associations really have led. And we said from day one, we were the most affected industry out there, and we were. We know that because factually, on March 15th, the Lieutenant Governor called me and said, we're probably going to shut down. Can you do it in 2 days? And we closed down March 17th. And on March 18th, 255,000 out of 300,000 people that restaurants employed were furloughed. We were essentially closed for 3 months. That impact on communities, that impact on individuals, that impact on, just the entire economic development engine of the state and then the country was ground to a halt. And, it really required a response that was bigger. And, we are one of 2 industries that have received targeted dollars from the federal government through this whole crisis: airlines and restaurants. We're there for a reason, because we're on the top of the list. And it's a list, frankly, that no one ever wanted to be on, no one wants to be on, and it's awful. But I commend the government for stepping up, and it was Democrats and Republicans alike to get that done. But I will also share with you, we did a rollout with myself, Bob Nelson, who's the president of the SBA up here in the Northeast, Senator Markey, and Jody Adams, Chef Jody Adams, who's the best. And in advance of the rollout, we did a week ago Thursday, and Monday was when it opened up. And Senator Markey opened it up. He had a lot of nice things to say. I mean, we did work together with him and his team a lot during this. And when he introduced me, I thanked him, and at the same time, I reminded him. I said, "Look, Senator Markey, I appreciate all you've done so far and all your colleagues have done, but it's hard for me before the first applications have ever been filled out to say we're going to need more money, but we know we're going to need more money, and I'm going to be coming knocking back at your door." And he acknowledged that, and he knew that, and he acknowledged that he would be supportive of that. So, look, the SBA processed in the first 2 days alone 190,000 applications. To date, they've processed 264,000 applications. They've already, 1 week out, started pushing money out the door to those most in need. But today, an announcement came out from the SBA that said those initial 264,000 applications, the total funding, the total requested dollars based on the formulas provided would be, I think it was $68 billion. There's $28.6 billion in the fund. So we're bankrupted before we even get started. So it's going to be real important for them to come back and assist others and look for more funding here. And again, I think the Biden administration and prior to that, the Trump administration have understood how deeply this group's been hurt. I think they're going to step up and help us because, again, at the end of the day, we employ 10% of America in restaurants.
Exactly. No, it's shocking to hear the numbers when you put it all into perspective, but then you think about each individual community across the Bay State, and I mean, across America, how many restaurants are out there? I mean, you look at your large scale restaurants, your small mom and pops, your diners, I mean, right across the board that are all been affected by this. Mm-hmm. I mean, your levels of money wise that are needed are tremendous. Unbelievable. So moving on from that, staffing. Obviously, this has become a major issue. unemployment wise, everyone that you said was furloughed, they were able to get their $600 a week versus what they might have been making in tips and more wages before that. So it was more appealing to them to stay on unemployment rather than go back to work. And we're seeing that linger still today. What's your take on that, and where do you think it's going to go?
Yeah. So, first of all, look, the government. First of all, we still have large swaths of our industry that have yet to reopen. Events are just coming back on site now, and it'll take us a little while to get it up and running, but we'll be up and running with that. Our bars are still closed. Our nightclubs are still closed. Other facets of the business are still closed. So we still have people that have needs. Look, the reality is, here's the challenge for us in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, we're a victim of a state that takes care of itself or its people, right? We have the highest in the nation maximum unemployment benefit, $835 a week. And when the federal government came out and said we got to help everybody across the country, they determined it was $600 extra for the federal unemployment fund. And the reason they did that is because the maximum payment in Oklahoma is $200 a week.
Right.
In hindsight, should they have leveraged it and said, indexed it to what the state does? Okay, we can Monday morning quarterback that all the way home. The benefit is now down to $300 a week through September 6th. I'd say, and I've talked to people about this a lot this week. I think the problem is less people sitting on unemployment, not wanting to go back to work. I mean, certainly there's some people there that fall. The bigger problem, quite honestly, is the fact that, and this has never happened before in the history of the world, the two largest economies in the world, America and China, essentially reopened at the same exact time. And, you turn the switch on, and this is a problem not just restaurant driven, although because we're so labor dependent, it becomes a highlight for our industry. But it's every industry across the board, and it's affecting every business across the board. I was with Trimark United yesterday, Trimark United East, one of our great business partners that provides all the flatwares and all the supplies that we need to run our kitchens and all the equipment that we need for our kitchens and to put out the great food, so on and so forth. Jeff Bean, their president, is really frustrated because it might be there's such a backup of goods and services right now. It could be months before we see plateware because the factories overseas let their workers go so they could get through it, and now all of a sudden everybody needs everything. Well, that's why we're seeing everything implode right now. And so this is far bigger than workers that are sitting on the sidelines, collecting more on unemployment. It's an entire worldwide economy problem. And again, it affects our industry because we're a very high labor cost industry. And so it's going to take us a little bit of time to get out of this. We're going to have to get creative. I think we're going to, we're already seeing it. People having to sort of restructure hours and restrict hours and look at the business model again, even differently. But the good news is over the last 14 months, the restaurateurs have had to really look at their business and figure out how to make it through. So again, I think that some of them are a little bit ahead of it than other industries even. And, eventually, and again, the other two big factors here is, we lost a lot of our workers. As I said, 255,000 people got pink slipped. And, a lot of them have found other jobs, quite honestly, and moved into different industries. And the second thing that's happened is that women, predominantly women or men, but it's fallen more on women and just because of the nature of it, I presume. have decided to stay home because of the child care issue and the fact that we were schooling children at our home. And,
Right.
And that's, that unpredictability has really been a challenge for all industries, but really, again, we employ a lot of women. It's really been a problem for us. So, I think with kids getting back into school, and certainly in September, with folks that had to make decisions and tried other industries, as they start to come back and realize, okay, restaurants are back again. Everything I liked about them before, the flexibility in schedule, the good pay, the ability to manage my own business. I think you're going to start to see people come back to our industry as they see it stabilizing.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that we've noticed as well, too, to add to that is the foreign visa work permits that come in, especially when you get to the coastal communities, especially like Provincetown, for example, relies on that, and Outer Cape every year after year. Last year, obviously, they didn't really get to open up, so it didn't affect them as much, but they started seeing a drop in that 2 or 3 years ago. And now this year, that whole ban that's there, that they're really struggling to pull employees in.
I mean, we're still faced with countries that aren't allowing people to travel yet. So,
yeah.
And we need to get a returning workers program that makes sense. And we're working with Representative Keating from the South Shore. He's been a big advocate for this, and I don't think anybody understands the immigration and visa situation as well in our delegation as Congressman Keating.
Nice. And let me just show you real quick here. We've got a couple things that have come across. We've seen. This is one of them here that some of the restaurants have put out. Currently, we wouldn't recommend something like this. It's not the best way to do things here.
No.
And then another one they had that has been popping up a lot around the state. We've noticed some restaurants doing this. Leaving cards at tables, going in, scouting out the best of the best that you have, saying, come join our team after you've been trained by your restaurant you're with now. Come work for us. It's tough. I mean, it's definitely a dog eat dog out there right now with staffing, and we're seeing certain things happening and getting a little cutthroat.
Yeah, and one of the things that, and I've been on TV a fair amount and in print a fair amount, sadly. One of the things that I'm really talking to the public about is asking for their patience as we sort of restaff. I've seen a couple of the more, I think of the better signs is, please be patient. The new pandemic is there's not enough workers.
Yep.
And, to me, the good news is it's an opportunity for us to really recruit a whole new workforce. We just have to be patient because we have to develop them from the ground up. They have no experience, and that takes a little bit longer and a little bit more patience on the part of the owners and the managers and employees that train them. But it's also an opportunity for us to diversify our employment force and offer opportunities to communities that are hurting and communities that are economically challenged. And it's a great opportunity for a lot of people to come into our industry that hadn't thought about it before. We'll train them and give them the skill sets to succeed.
Yep. Yeah, we've actually done in our own industry here. We've brought in somebody who has no idea what they're doing in digital marketing and bring them in and be able to mold them and sculpt them in the right way. It works out well. It's unbelievable how well it can work. And hopefully a lot of these restaurants have that mindset and actually look at that rather than trying to find that veteran QB that's out there that they know they can bring in the fourth quarter and score that touchdown for them. But you got to start as a rookie somewhere. Everybody's got to start out, unfortunately. So restrictions that are put in place, obviously, at restaurants, plexiglass shields were put in, table dividers, things like that. Do you see that as something hanging around beyond post-COVID?
No. I'm looking forward to, at the latest, August 1st, and hopefully sooner, that restrictions are lifted entirely. And I think that's the governor's approach. Look, we're currently second in the nation by a hair in terms of how many folks have been vaccinated. We only trail Connecticut, and it's literally by tenths of points. So, we've become the leader in this. I think we're going to continue to do that. And I'm expecting that hopefully we're going to be able to accelerate the reopening process as well as I think the governor's approach is going to be that, we're going to lift all restrictions sooner than later. And, I hope to God we never see plexiglass used like we've had to use it again anywhere in our lifetimes. But at the same point, I think, look, the resiliency that these entrepreneurs in this industry use to say, how do we overcome obstacles and how do we make it safe for no restaurateur ever would open up if the safety of their guests and their employees wasn't assured right off the bat. And they worked aggressively hard to say, how do we make sure that happens, that our guests and our employees are always safe? And if so, then we'll open and then we'll continue to figure it out. And they've just been tremendous on this the entire time. I mean, one thing I want to say, Todd, I have had the hardest discussions with restaurant owners that I've ever had to have, and just awful stories. People that didn't make it, people that were kicking and screaming and doing everything they could to get where they needed to go. But through it all, and this is just incredible to me, not once in any of those conversations that I had with an owner and operator did they start with my sales, my profits. Their conversation with me always started with two words: my employees. That was the most important thing to them. And when they didn't have two nickels to rub together, they still took care of their employees. They fed them. They fed their employees' families. They provided assistance to them, financial assistance, other resources, because they knew they had nowhere to turn. And to me, that's just incredible. It talks to the philanthropic nature of this industry. And then, take it one step further. They were also there for all the first responders and for the hospitals and the medical teams that were taking care of people in the most awful of circumstances. And again, I got to tell you, it literally, it's brought me, my team, the team at the National Restaurant Association, literally it's brought me to tears numerous times over the years as I've gone through this and had these conversations. And it really speaks to the incredible philanthropic nature of the industry and what type of the owners that we have and why they're the stalwarts of the community and everybody's rooting for them.
Right. And the one thing we've seen too is we've noticed how many more restaurants now are working together rather than against each other. That competition barrier is pretty much lifted right now, and it's how can we help out the fellow guy? What can we do to help each other out? What are you doing that's working? What has worked for you? What hasn't worked for you? Let's bounce ideas off of each other. Let's help each other out. And that's been great. I mean, you've seen that community build town to town to town around the state and around the country. I know here with air purification systems, for example, we had one restaurant that didn't want to be the first restaurant in the South Coast to shut down due to COVID, and he had to. His employees were scared to death of it, and they weren't going to come into work. They didn't want to do it. So he shut down for 2 weeks, didn't want to do it, and everybody followed suit. But the owners all got together and said, what can we do? How can we figure out this whole takeout system? How can we figure out how to make our restaurants safe, like you said, for the employees, number one, but then for our customers? Because our employees are the ones we have to look out for. Without them, we don't have a business. And that's the best part. When you see a restaurant owner realize that and acknowledge that over profit any day of the week, that's a great restaurateur.
Yeah, no question about it.
Yeah, and that's been a great thing. We've seen that more and more. I mean, we've learned more in our marketing industry about air purification systems than I think we ever wanted to know. And I can tell you probably 25 different systems that are out there that are in restaurants around the Bay State. But it's great. I mean, it had to be done, and it's a great thing going forward. And I think, and we get into cold and flu season going forward, I think it's going to be a huge help for the restaurant industry. You're not going to see the sick time that comes into play, which will be good.
Yeah,
hopefully.
No question.
Hopefully. So, big thing, food show, obviously. The New England Food Show, 2 years, unfortunately, in a row now, has had to be postponed. Looked like it was going to be a go for this year in June. I know myself, I was very excited about it. I know a lot of our clients were excited about it. And then obviously not knowing where things were going to be come June, you had to pull the plug this year. What's the plan?
Yeah, so the New England Food Show is the largest food show, trade show in the Northeast. We actually, you talk about looking back and just recognizing things that happened, and it's almost surreal now. But we were actually down in D.C. for a legislative affairs conference. All the state CEOs from the Restaurant Association. We were meeting with our federally elected officials down in D.C. in the first week of March, and things were really moving rapidly at that point. And literally, we needed to make the decision down there that we were going to postpone it. We were the first show to get postponed at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. The end, I think it was the third week in March we were going to launch. It was 10 days before we had to pull the plug. We looked to schedule it for later in the year, and that didn't work. And then we literally made the decision to postpone it. We were set to go again for initially the end of February, and in November we were able to get a new date on board a little bit further back because we thought we would need the cushion, and we thought we would be comfortable with a show June 10th to 13th, I think it was, if I remember correctly, 10 to 12, and we were set to go with that, sadly, as we started to approach it and really look at it, we realized things were not opening up as much as possible. The state was at 25% capacity for large venues, and that just meant it wouldn't be economically feasible for our exhibitors or for our attendees, and so we made the decision to again postpone it this year. The good news is we're on for April 3rd to 5th next year. And we actually have had 2 days of meetings this week with our operators, our partners who operate the show for us, as well as all the large business partners that make up our exhibitors. And everyone's, as well as the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center, and everybody's in agreement. This is going to be the most critical show that we've ever had. It's going to be a coming out party. I mean, we're gonna come back this year. But this is sort of a get your feet back on dry ground year. But we believe that by next spring, we're really going to start hitting stride again. And so we think it's going to be an incredibly important show. I think we're going to see a lot of new and different things. Obviously, it'll have been 3 years since we had met, and the business model's totally changed, like we were talking about earlier, Todd. So you're going to see a whole slew of different products and goods and services at that show, and I think it's going to be a home run. So we're really looking forward to it, and we believe that the state and the city are going to be getting behind this as well. So
which is
it's going to be exciting. Yeah.
So it's a great thing too. So somebody who's now contemplating opening up a restaurant right now, which there are a few that have started opening up and different things. By that time next year, really to get a grasp on things and really get involved in it would be great. We're running the ticker right here across the bottom of the screen. Become a member of the MRA today. If you are a restaurant owner and you're watching this or involved in the restaurant industry and you're not a member of the MRA, get involved. Everything you need is right there, guys. They are a great wealth of knowledge for you, a great support system, as you've heard tonight from Bob. Definitely reach out to them, get involved, ask your questions, find out. For example, we met with a potential restaurant owner yesterday, Bob, who said, I don't even know what to start my wages at. Where would I go? I said, give the MRA a call. Talk to them, Go over your industry, exactly what your type of restaurant is, and sign up and become. Hopefully she became a member today, I hope.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. And, that is something, again, trying to understand exactly what's going on. We recognized that we got a long road to hoe. And so, our board has been very supportive, and we just said, look, we got to make this as approachable as possible for people as we go to put the business model back together for the MRA. And again, as I said to you, we took down the walls and said we're going to get everybody over to help everybody get over to the other side. We've done that. We're doing that. But pretty soon we're going to have to put back up. And what we've done is we said, look, we'll extend an offer that says, an introductory offer that says, hey, we've been helping you for the last 14 months. Stay with us. We'll do it for $1 a day. We'll bill you monthly as opposed to annually. and really make this work so it meets your cash flow option needs. And so look, we had over 100 people sign up in the last 3 weeks through this offer, 100 different businesses. So I think it's making sense to people, and certainly they've seen the value in the MRA over the last year. And we've been there for 80 years, but I think, as I've heard over and over this year, people say we never valued the Massachusetts Restaurant Association as much as we have this year. And that's a direct reflection of the team that works with me, because they're the ones that make it, and we're a small little group. There used to be 11 of us. There's 7 of us today, and they just go out and they have worked tirelessly through this whole thing to make it work. So,
which is great. And it's funny you say that about the value in seeing the small groups and what you're able to do. We're hearing that over and over again too, as well, for Chamber of Commerce's during this time of the pandemic, and what a Chamber of Commerce has done to a business, restaurants included, how they've been able to help them and the advice they've been able to get. So it's one of those things. If you're a small business owner, if you're a restaurant owner, reach out to these organizations. Use them for what they are. That's what they're there for. They want to be used. So, I mean, not to use that in the wrong way, Bob, but
no. That's what
Bob wants to be used, guys.
That's what it is. That's what it's all about. Our role is to, and we've said this for a long time, way before the last 14 months, but our role is basically to make sure that we provide the restaurants with everything they need so they can focus on preparing hot food hot, cold food cold, great adult beverages, and a great wow experience for the guests when they walk through the door, and everything else they need to know to make sure they stay within the expectations of the government, the regulators, doing the right thing for all the different employees, and benefits and cost savings and rules and regulations. That's what we're here for. And running a restaurant, everybody thinks it's fun and games. If they had any knowledge of how much knowledge you have to have when you're taking raw product and turning it into a finished product in 12 or 14 minutes and putting it in front of a demanding consumer that's going to give you immediate and critical feedback, that's incredible just by itself. To make sure that we do it safely and all the different compliance and regulations that we've always had to follow, that certainly has been enhanced 150% during this last 14 months. Is nothing short of miraculous. And then knowing all the labor laws, and you're talking about restaurant owners that greet the guests at the front door, sometimes cook the meal, sometimes cash the register, and also have to know all the laws and make sure they do everything correct. And so that's what we're here to do, is help them with that stuff. Yeah,
we have a saying in that industry with restaurant owners, it's a special breed. There's no question. And we have a lot of people that, why doesn't this person get in the restaurant industry? Well, it's not cut out for everybody. It definitely takes a special mentality to do that in and out. And everybody you hear all the time, well, this person's a great cook. They do this at home. Why don't they open a restaurant? Well, that's not for them. Can you do that same thing over 50 times in a day and then serve it, order your food, help people out, know all the ins and outs, like you just said, all the laws that are involved, all the bookkeeping, everything that goes into day-to-day operations. And then they realize, wow, there's a lot involved. One of the big things we've done with our restaurant owners is when employees start complaining about pay wages and different things like that, we have them actually take all of their bills that they have, line them up on a wall right by the time clock so everybody can see them and know exactly what's being spelled out every single day for them as a business owner, how much they're paying out, and at the end of the day, what the restaurant owner is actually taking home as pay. You suddenly get an unbelievable camaraderie between the staff, which has been great to realize, wow, this person is really killing themselves for us day in and day out. So we have a job, we have a place to go, we have security. They're doing this for us, not just for them. And that really makes a big difference. We've seen that over and over again every time we've done it. And it's been great. So it's a nice tool that a lot of restaurant owners at first are very shy to do. They don't want to put that out there. They don't want to expose themselves. But once they do, they realize, it's the best thing I ever did.
Yeah. A humble group, that's for sure.
Yeah. So with that, let's show a quick video real quick that you guys have put together. It's fantastic, and we'll show that real quick here.
Restaurants are the heartbeat of our communities. And after nearly a year of struggles with capacity restrictions, financial losses, and changing seasons, they need our support. Restaurants go above and beyond to operate safely, both for their guests and employees. You can have peace of mind knowing they're taking care of us and our families and keeping communities fed and employed. So treat yourself while supporting local restaurants. Eat your favorite meal with your favorite people.
I gotta say, that's the best line there. Eat your favorite meal with your favorite people. Right there. I mean, that is the one thing we're hoping that the pandemic didn't affect is the younger generation who got used to just getting takeout, going home, and missing that whole restaurant experience of going out on a Friday, Saturday night, getting together, sitting around a table, drinks, enjoying, shooting the crap, and having a great time. We want to see that come back, and I think everybody does. And we're just hoping the younger generation didn't get too accustomed to, hey, I can take it home and buy my booze on the way home and sit home at the kitchen table and do the same thing.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think, look, we've all done that. I've said this before, and I love my wife dearly. Luckily, she loves me dearly as well. But we've looked at each other and said we've had too many one-on-one meals over the last 14 months, and we just want to go back and bump elbows with you to my left, Todd, and Cindy who to my right, and have a good laugh with the bartender and enjoy the meal, but just have that camaraderie, that community feel, that sense that restaurants are. And the good news is, the public by and large wants to see that happen. They've been very vocal about that they want to make sure that their local restaurants survive and that they want to get back to it. And the good news is, look, in the last 30 to 45 days, I'll go back to April 1st. So let's just call it, we're almost 45 days at this point now. We have not had terrific outdoor dining weather yet. A spot here and there, but the good news is we've had, our restaurateurs across the state saying they've had their busiest days in the restaurant since pre-pandemic. And many operators had a month in April that exceeded April of 2019, not 2020, but 2019 sales. So that indicates to me that there's a confidence to come back into the restaurants in the four walls. There's a desire to want to do it. And I think that leads to some optimism as we go forward. And again, I need to make sure everybody remembers, just because we've got our feet back on firm ground here in May of 2021 for the first time in 15 months now, doesn't mean, restaurants are back in business and everything's, they're printing money. This is an industry that makes 5 cents on the dollar if they do a good job. And we just have feet on firm ground, which means you can start to scratch and kind of back into the game. We still got a long ways to go. And there's still a lot of turbulent waters ahead of us. And so we appreciate our guests. We always have. We appreciate them whether they take our food to their dining room from our dining room, whether they come in and sit in our dining room. They sit at our bars, hopefully in our nightclubs as quickly as we can. And quite honestly, events, that's a big part of our industry. Look, I can't tell you how many brides and grooms, have been. I mean, it's like I was putting them on hold. They were calling the MRA saying, "Hey, when can we do this? When can we do that? Why can't you get this done?" I'm like, "Look, ain't me." So, we're excited for the future here.
Yeah, no, which is great, and I think most people are. I mean, at this point in time, everybody wants to get out. Everybody's dying to get out. It's a great thing that we're all looking forward to. And summer's right here. Summer's within reach. We can see the light at the end of the tunnel right now, within reach for normalcy, as much as it can be to come back to normal here. And the restaurants are definitely going to be eager to have people come in and fill the seats. They want the phones to ring for orders to come in. They want those slips running through. They want those micros machines pumping out receipt slips constantly for the kitchen. So everybody needs to do their best to help out their local restaurant Get out there. If you haven't gone to a restaurant you've been wanting to go back to, go. There's no time like the present. We're not guaranteed it tomorrow. Everyone should know that. Go today. Don't put off what you can do today, and the restaurants will be here for you. So definitely reach out to them, get out, support them, and do what you can. I mean, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they're here for you guys. They're working around the clock for you. Even 24-hour diners are back open again. So get out and see them. If you're in the Worcester market, definitely go down. Go to the Boulevard. They're waiting for you. So, but definitely, Bob, I want to thank you. It's been a great show. A lot of information. Hopefully we get some people to sign up for the MRA from this tonight as well. I do appreciate it. And guys, any questions you have, definitely please reach out to the MRA. They're here for you. Again, please use them. Get your knowledge that you need. Sign up. Again, right now the promotion for as little as $1 a day makes a lot of sense if you're a small business, small restaurant starting up. Get all the information you need and get on the right foot. So, Bob, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you, Todd.
All right. Thanks, Bob. All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. It was a great show. And again, please reach out to the MRA if you are a restaurant owner or work in the restaurant industry and want your business owner to join if they're not already. It's a great opportunity for you, a great way to find information out. So thank you very much for joining us on Virtual Q&A, and we will talk to you soon. Take care.
South Coast Marketing Group is a full-service marketing agency located in Mattapoisett, offering marketing services such as website development, social media management, search engine optimization, pay-per-click advertising, logo and graphic design, print services, and anything marketing. You do your business, we do the rest. Call us today and let's start planning.